Okay. And then I'm going to move on to this heart specimen and show you some side-by-side action with this one. Okay, so this is a really good side-by-side, and then we'll look at the picture after that. But right here is a really good side-by-side. So you can see the similarities from this angle specifically. I was able to just find this image on the left online. I just typed in human heart and I was looking for images. And as you can see, all the arteries and everything have been removed, and it's just really kind of the heart itself without everything attached, which is kind of like how this rock is. And I mean, you can practically just put one right on top of the other almost. I mean, you've got this large opening right here, which you can see this flap of meat flesh is covering in this image. This would just kind of be all part of that helical heart system. But obviously this has been petrified into stone and quartz rock, and so this is but you can see, and then I'll show you the images on, this is also from a similar angle, this drawing, but it actually lists the different parts, and then you can identify those on top and kind of correlate those to the pictures here. But you've got this right atrium, you've got this left atrium, so this would be your large right atrium, and that piece again popped off. There's, that is out in the wild somewhere. But it was here, but it all kind of separates at these different break points. Okay, so just kind of take a look at this for a little bit, guys. I mean, this is pretty close stuff right here, and then I'll pull that drawing back up here in a minute and make it bigger. So I think that's a pretty good demonstration of what I'm talking about, because the helical heart, you can see this, how the meat kind of folds over, it wraps around is what it really is doing. It's twisting and wrapping around in a circle, I guess you could say, or a vortex. And that's what that's why this piece on the right on the rock is a different color from what's on the left here. It's just like you're seeing in the image over there. It's just the way that whatever happened to it when it petrified, you can clearly just see the difference in the layers is what we're seeing there. Okay, let's look at this in a little bit bigger now, just so we can identify the different openings. So this right here can give you a pretty good idea. If you kind of just take this rock and kind of flip it down into the left a little bit. And I'll show you some of the other pictures. This would be on the side here. This is kind of from the back, flipped upside down from what you just saw. But this gives you some good images of the other side, the back side of this heart specimen. This flood fossil. Kind of give you a look at some of the vein layers and everything, vein and arteries and fascia and fatty tissue that was on there, and muscle. I mean, it's all mixed together. The nerves, they're all in there. It's the most electrical organ in the body as well, so that's why it's also, I believe, full of the quartz material and everything. It's quite an amazing thing. Now let me see, is there anything else I need to show you here? Yeah, we can put this also, blow this up a little bit. This gives you that cross section on the inside, which, if I was to slice this rock open, now these chambers would have been filled with fluid basically and then petrified in that way. So typically this would be a solid. There's not going to be most likely not going to be an air pocket inside there. But you would expect to find something very similar to a cross-section of this. If you were to take a cross-section of it, you would. And I think from the outside, it's clear that that is what you would find on the inside. Now, someday, I might cut this open. I might keep this and try to find another specimen to cut open because this is such a good one. I don't know if I actually want to cut it or not yet. But if I do, I will certainly document every moment and then triple back up that, documentation, that video for sure. If I was to slice this one down. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I just wanted to share that with you. I just wanted to show you what I was shown and give you that information. And I do hope that you all have a great day, night, week, month, year. Keep in prayer. There's a lot of bad stuff going down, and I just want you guys all to be strong with your faith. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
A videotape in a TV monitor, and I saw the heart, normal human heart, working. And when I saw this imaging, then the light came to my brain, and then I realized what was the mechanical trick used by the heart.
What Torrent Wasp observed was the base of the heart moving down and the walls thickening during ejection, and then the base moving up forcefully, increasing the volume of the heart during diastole. All the while, the apex stays in place, virtually motionless.
The apical loop, the fibers are vertical, like my fingers, and the basal loop, the fibers are horizontal, like my other fingers. And I realized that the movement of the heart, made by the heart are the following ones. The base is going up and is coming down on the apical loop, which remains motionless.
Like a piston and cylinder, it is the forceful decrease in volume that pushes the blood out. And it's the forceful increase in volume that creates a potential vacuum, which muscle fibers also stiffen and rise when it lifts its head far above the ground. After nearly 50 years, Torrent Wasp's revolutionary and evolutionary concept of the heart was almost complete when a new nuclear imaging technique was employed to look at the contractions of the heart. Called a mugascan, isotopes along the heart are excited and change colors when the heart muscle contracts. With an understanding of the loops of the ventricular band, it is possible to follow the changing isotopes and visualize the wave of contraction that contradicts conventional knowledge. The recognized sequence is from apex to base, yet this method shows progression in an opposite direction, from
Nobel Prize. Seeing the helical heart, I realized that there were a couple of features in the heart stones that I had missed, just because I didn't really understand the true nature of the heart. In the petrified organs video that I did, I go through the heart rocks and I show the different themes that can emerge. In general, they'll take on this harp shape. They'll have openings oftentimes, or the indentations and the remains of openings on the side and on the top, the side being the pulmonary arteries and the top being the aorta. They also take on this shape where they curve on the underside very often, or they're just flat. And then
a couple of 100 watts of power, a couple of light bulbs of power, and I found it was able to mix an entire tank of water, 10 million gallons, which from an engineering point of view is not even conceivably possible. So from there, I started adapting these shapes into fans. Fans use 18% of the world's electrical energy. They're not terribly efficient. We found time and time again we could take the best fan in the world and reduce its energy by as much as 30%. So pretty much everything in an industrial world can be improved by taking these shapes from nature and reconfiguring.
Their band, Torrent Wasp had only solved one piece of the puzzle. How the band worked came next.
When I arrived to evidence the macroscopic structure of the ventricular myocardium, start the problem at once that to try to understand how the heart, by means of this structure, of this helical structure of the ventricular myocardium, how the heart could be able to develop, to perform its two actions. I mean, the systolic action, ejection of blood, and the diastolic action suction of blood.
WASP, also known as PACO.
In 1864, Pettigrew, a well-known British professor of anatomy, described the spatial organization of the heart fibers as, quote, an arrangement so unusual and perplexing that it has long been considered as forming a kind of Gordian knot in anatomy. Of the complexity of the arrangement, I need not speak further than to say that Vesalius, Albinus, Haller, and de Blainville all confessed their inability to unravel it, unquote. In the early 1950s, as a fourth-year medical student at Salamanca University in Spain, Francisco Torrent Guas began an anatomical study of the heart to prove scientifically that his theory and the early observations of Erasistratus, Galen, and others were indeed correct.
I was always taken by the drawings of M.C. Escher. He drew amazing two-dimensional images of 3D structures that could not possibly exist. Through him, I discovered the idea of the Mobius strip, a one-sided three-dimensional object. Try to wrap your head around that idea, a one-sided three-dimensional object. The interesting thing about the Mobius strip is that it can exist in our three-dimensional world.
A simple loop has two sides. You can't get from the red side to the green side without crossing the edge. If you cut the loop, twist one end by 180 degrees, or pi radians, and connect them again, you will have a Mobius strip, a mathematically non-orientable surface with only one boundary. Now you can try.
And apart from metaphorical references to the heart being a Mobius strip, I found nothing specific regarding the action of the cardiovascular system. So if no one else has made such a correlation, remember that you heard it here first. Geology appears to be in great need of revision. As more and more new information comes to light, it seems inevitable that geology will slowly morph into a new discipline, eventually
Earth Nation. Don't let them tell you anything else unless it's MudFlood was Armageddon. This is a special video for a man I know. I think he's a good man, Dr. Mike Wilkerson. And Lynn and Tommy and Randy and everybody else that knows about the stones and things. But Stellium7, Mike, is presenting, and Mike, I want to show you what I think you'll be able to appreciate as a heart that still has the vena cava and all of its other attachments. We'll take a look at some of them. Here's like a heart with, see, because normally what you find, a very repentant Titan or Nephilim, it would have overflow of the enzymes that are gemstone types that really make the, because the heart will be whatever it's going to be. If you're a repentant, it will solidify and leave the parts of the heart, but very rarely does it leave the accoutrements, the blood supply, arteries, the aorta, superior vena cava, pulmonary arteries and things. So remember, this wouldn't be this clear. It would still be a dirty rock to you, but you see what I'm trying to show you here, that this was rock, but not really, not always. Not always. And you can see blood. I'll keep the arrow on a small vein for a blood supply. And these are gemstones because these are inside this it was all moving liquid blood supply going to your heart. This is going to your heart. This could very well be gold flakes. If you tested this rock, it would be very, very heavy, and it's filled with gold, silver, and precious stones. We're going to look at some of the things on the inside. Pay particular attention to here. You'll see these have fibers coming off of them. I'm going to show you some of my old photos now. I won't make this long, Mr. Mike. I'll try not to be a preacher type while I'm showing these pictures, but while I was doing these, you know, here's what people call petrified wood. And the reason it breaks is because of the blood vessels that run through layers of the muscle. And it ends up making little slabs that look like wood at first glance. Now, do you remember the picture I showed you of the hearts? This is one of the veins. Now, this was the Linda heart stone, famous stone in my world, and I started degrading it with hydrogen peroxide, medical strength, H2O2. And this portion down here is blood, Mr. Mike, that it will wash away at a different rate, but it is so infused with what a repentant has. And then here you can see inside of the veins, and then here's that one, the equivalent of here, right here. So that's what I'm showing you in the picture. Here's a good one of it. So this is that part of the heart stopped in action, still blood here. Another, you know, you'll probably know what that is. I don't know. But you can tell the hardness that the stone washed away. And so I'm exposing those insides, you know, hoping that with your better expertise, you'll be able to explain it. Now here's a transition from regular stone of what they call, you know, and this is not slag glass. This is a heart that's been turned to stone. These can be done, Mike, and these are organs, and you are correct. You're doing the right thing, brother. This is a, it's part of your shoulder. Doesn't look like a heart. This is a tailbone, a coccyx. So that should be enough to let you, you know, you get it, Mr. Mike. And everybody's behind you in your studies. We're glad that you didn't go down the wrong path and be a hacker. So it's a flat earth nation. MudFlood was Armageddon. You know I'm never going to tell you anything else. Why would I? Trying to prove that I have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho.